But we begin with Ngapari Nui, the lifelong Black Power member now banned from doing voluntary work in prisons. Today, as you'll see and hear in a few minutes, Checkpoint has been shown the Kaiwhakamana card that gave him access to the prisons in which he did his volunteer work. It's personally signed by the head of corrections, Ray Smith. And there's more. Documents obtained by RNZ News show Mr Nui had enjoyed support from other people within corrections. A media release had even been prepared by corrections expressing support for Mr Nui's voluntary work with Māori prisoners. Corrections now say they knew Mr Nui was associated with Black Power, but they didn't know he was a member. Mr Nui has received support from Dame Tariana Turia, the two current Māori Party co-leaders, National MP and former Whanganui Police Officer Chester Burrows, Māori leaders of Salvation Army and hundreds of people in his own community. But Judith Collins, the Correction Minister, has said no gang volunteers, including Mr Nui. Last night on Checkpoint, Judith Collins strongly rejected gang members working as volunteers in prison. She said gangs were criminal organisations. And while she refused to say whether or not she believed Mr Nui had done this, she said gang members with access to prisoners might recruit members. So, is Ngapari Nui a member of Black Power?
Yes, I am.
Why?
Well, I've been a patch member for probably 38 years now, John, going on to 40, coming up a couple of years. And the reason why I still stay there, John, is because I see myself having being more effective by being in there than putting my patch up. Because you know yourself, once you finish with whatever organisation it is, that your role is finished within there, and you don't hold the same mana. And that's how I saw it. I saw it. I'll be more supportive of our members by still holding on to my patch. And our boys understand that I have a hands-off role because there's things that I have to move forward, the changes in my life, and my focus is on iwi, hapu, marae, and whānau kaupapa. It's around, that whānau order kaupapa that I'm passionate about.
Right, Ngapari, have you ever tried to recruit for Black Power in prison?
No, that's a big, my role, John, has never been about recruiting members. You can ask people around Pātea, our chapter of the Black Power. A lot of my nephews wanted to join Black Power, and I haven't supported them because I know their parents. Because the first thing they know, if I support them, I'll get an ear bashing. So, and some of those kids, one of my nephews that he looks up to me as a father, he's gone to Australia now, and I'm glad he went to Australia. I've got two sons, John. They live in Australia. I didn't want them to stay in Pātea, because I didn't want not only gangs, these drugs and all that they got to put up with these days. So I didn't want those boys to go through that. So I pushed them away from being a gang member because I know what it's like.
What is it like?
Well, it's the good, the bad, the ugly. The good, the bad, the ugly. And that's what being a gang member is. So I don't push for anybody to become a gang member.
You became one. Why? What were you like as a young man?
Well, my thing that alcohol was a lot of my problems. A lot of the trouble I got into is involved around alcohol. So, at 36 years of age, over 20 years ago, I've decided to give up alcohol for the sake of my family, for the sake of my children, and now I have mokopuna. So now my focus now, alcohol, threw that away. Was never, if you want to talk about drugs, like everybody else, sometimes in your life you try it, but, I've never been a big involver in drugs.
No, can I? So you don't smoke? You don't smoke cigarettes? No. And I need you to be as true as you possibly can with me. You don't drink? You don't take drugs? When did you last commit an act of violence?
Well, act of violence, you're probably looking back to 87. It was 87, 1987. act of violence.
Pretty angry in the 70s.
Yeah, in the 70s, in the early 70s, early 80s, I was an angry person.
So you would drink and get angry.
Yes, flash out.
And when were you last in prison?
Oh, I haven't been to prison, John, but I've done 2 months in my teenage years in a correction.
Okay,
They had,
so some kind of juvenile detention centre or something.
yeah, juvenile. That's,
And what happened in 1987?
I think I was up for assault. The serious charges I've been involved in is 3 assaults, but everything else has been just minor things.
And do you regret those things now?
Oh yes.
Ngapari, can I just ask you some quick questions about your relationship with corrections? Did corrections know that you were a member of Black Power or had a strong association with Black Power?
Yes. There's an application form that you got to fill out, and then I've been when I first done it, going back the first 5 or 6 years ago, it came onto our table for those ones there which had applied for the position, and we had to have a sign off on my iwi. So also in there is a document that says, have you any gang affiliation? So I wrote in there this, I have association with Black Power, and I thought, that would be an issue at the time, and I was quite surprised myself that they accepted, and they knew that I gang connection. So there was another review done a couple of years ago, same process again I had to go through, and again I had to sign it off and make it clear that I did have gang connection. And again they came back, because I did ask the person that was helping me to pull out, I'm a gang member, would there be any issues about me? Would they stop me from getting back in the game? And he said, no, there shouldn't be any issues, but it had to be signed off. And at this time, it was Ray Smith that signed it off. I got my Kaiwhakamana card. When I find it, that got Ray Smith, and at the time, it was the other police minister signed it off, or minister, or the person of corrections.
So wait a sec. Sorry, Ngapari, who signed off your card? Who signed off the card that allowed you this access into jail? Ray Smith. You're holding it up to camera. That's Ray Smith's signature on it, the head of corrections.
Yeah.
That's personally signed by him.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, he has to sign it off.
So Ray Smith knew your history, your background and your connections, and he signed off on your entry card. And that card was renewed, full disclosure about your gang connections. And all of that remained unchanged for years until Judith Collins became involved. On the face of it, what would you say to Judith Collins?
Oh, if she sat down at the beginning, instead of going on TV and then approached my iwi, sat down with us instead of going on TV and trying to, being a hard nut. We've known that's how she is. Judith, she's like a bull out of the paddock. They come rushing in without sitting down and thinking before she made a statement like that.